Ah, Shalom. All praises to the Most High, the Holy One, the Great Spirit, the Almighty, the beginning and the end. It's your man Rel, we back. Hidden Holy Lands in America. Part 6. Part 6. And today, we're talking about Grand Tartary or Tartaria, Tartary. Alright. We got here a map from 1740. Let's zoom out. Alright. This map is a little interesting because it's got what they call Tartaria in Russia, but it has it connected to not only Russia and India, what they call today China, but it's also connected to the Americas. And there's no separation going on here. I don't see a Bering Strait here. Now, I'm coming to you humbly as a servant of the Most High. And this series is not about trying to prove anything, because many people have spoke on this subject before. Many people. But I'm humbly coming to you, and we just diving in to see what connections we can make, and just to see what we can get. Because somebody been lying about Tartaria. Now, I'm not here to try to, say I'm better than anybody else that talked about this subject. But I do want to do a dive in on it and see where it takes us. See what we can get. Because we already know they lied about everything. So what makes you think they'll tell the truth about Tartaria? Alright? I want to start things off with the scripture. Let's scroll over here to Joshua chapter 24. Alright, we got a little tribal music going on, 432 hertz, just to set the tone. We're going to Joshua chapter 24, verse 1. Let's get it. And Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem, and called for the elders of Israel, and for their heads, and for their judges, and for their officers. And they presented themselves before Yahweh. And Joshua said unto all the people, Thus says Yahweh of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even terror. the father of Abraham, and the father of Nahor. And they served other Elohim. And I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood and led him throughout all the land of Canaan, multiplied his seed, and gave him Isaac. And I gave unto Isaac Jacob and Esau. And I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Mizraim. I sent Moshe also and Aaron, and I plagued Mizraim, according to which I did among them. And afterward I brought you out. And I brought your fathers out of Mizraim. Ye came unto the sea. And the Mizraim pursued after your fathers with chariots and horsemen unto the Red Sea. And when they cried unto Hawa, he put darkness between you and Mizraim, and brought the sea upon them, and covered them. And your eyes have seen what I have done in Mizraim. And ye dwelt in the wilderness a long season. And I brought you into the land of the Amorites, which dwelt on the other side of the Jordan. And they fought with you. And I gave them into your hand, that ye may possess their land. And I destroyed them before you, from before you. Then Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, arose and warred against Israel, and sent and called Balaam the son of Beor to curse you. But I would not hearken unto Balaam, therefore he blessed you still. So I delivered you out of his hand. And ye went over the Jordan and came unto Jericho, and the men of Jericho fought against you, the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Girgashites, the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I delivered them into your hand. And I sent the hornet from before you, which drove them out from before you, even the 2 kings of the Amorites, but not with your sword, nor with your bow. And I have given you a land for which ye did not labor, and cities which ye built not, and ye dwell in them, of the vineyards and the olive yards, which ye planted not, do ye eat. Now therefore fear Hawa, and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the Elohim which your father served on the other side of the flood, and in Mizraim, and serve Hawa. And if it seems evil unto you to serve Hawa, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the Elohim which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the Elohim of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Hawa. And the people answered and said, far be it that we should forsake Hawa to serve other Elohim. For Hawa, he it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Mizraim, from the house of bondage, in which did those great signs in our sight, and did guard us in all the way wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And Hawa drove out from before us all the people, even the Amorites which dwelt in the land. Therefore we will also serve Hawa, for he is our Elohim. And Joshua said unto the people, ye cannot serve Hawa, for he is a holy Elohim. He is a jealous power. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. if ye forsake Hawa and serve strange Elohim, then he will turn and do you hurts and consume you. After that, he has done you good. And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve Hawa. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye are witnesses against yourselves that ye have chosen you Hawa to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Now therefore put away, said he, the strange power which are among you, and incline your heart unto Hawa of Israel. And the people said unto Joshua, Hawa will we serve, and his voice we will obey. So Joshua cut a covenant with the people that day and set them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem. And Joshua wrote these words in the Sefer of the Torah of Elohim. He took a great stone and set it up there under an oak that was by the sanctuary of Hawa. And Joshua said unto all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it has heard all the words of Hawa which he spoke unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your Elohim. So Joshua let the people depart, every man unto his inheritance. And it came to pass after these things that Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of Hawa, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnah Serah, which is in Mount Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gash. And Israel served Hawa all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, in which had known all the works of Hawa that he had done for Israel. And the bones of Joseph, which the children of Yasharel brought up out of Mizraim, buried they in Shechem in a parcel of ground which Jacob bought of the sons of Shemor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And it became the inheritance of the children of Joseph. And Eleazar the son of Aaron died, and they buried him in a hill that pertained to Phinehas his son, which was given him in the Mount Ephraim. All right. I had to get the whole chapter in, just for context purposes. And it's a good one. But I want to zoom in and focus in on verse 13. And I have given you a land for which ye did not labor, and cities which ye built not, and ye dwell in them, of the vineyards and olive yards which ye planted not, do ye eat. Alright, yeah. Tried to black out on me. Just in time. Okay. So, when we're talking about Tartaria, right? It definitely has a connection to Israel. Alright? Now we're going to dig into it, try to dissect it. But first, I'm going to get a little video on it. Disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right. Let's get a quick video in.
What if there was an empire so vast, so advanced, that its influence stretched across continents, only to be lost to history? Welcome to the story of Tartaria, an enigmatic civilization that might have been one of the greatest the world has ever seen. But unlike Rome, Greece, or Egypt, Tartaria's legacy is shrouded in mystery, largely erased from our historical records. Today we're going to peel back the layers of time and uncover who they were, what they achieved, and how their once thriving society could have impacted the world as we know it. Who were the Tartarians? The name Tartaria has come to be associated with a vast and ancient empire, said to have once sprawled across Eurasia, from parts of Russia to China and beyond. Historians and explorers of the past hinted at the existence of this empire, but it was often overshadowed by the rise of the Mongol Empire and other dominant powers of the time. Tartaria, however, wasn't merely a fleeting empire. It was a civilization that might have reached heights beyond what we can imagine. Tartarians were believed to be a diverse, highly skilled, and intellectual people, experts in everything from architecture to engineering. Their society was far ahead of its time, boasting innovations that modern civilizations would take centuries to catch up with. Imagine advanced cities, grandiose buildings, and technologies that defied the limitations of their era. What did they do? The achievements of the Tartarian Empire were far-reaching. They were known for their advanced urban planning, and their cities were said to have been intricately designed with massive buildings and complex infrastructure systems that we would expect in modern metropolises. Their architectural marvels included monumental structures, some of which are said to have influenced modern designs, though this connection is often overlooked by mainstream history. Moreover, the Tartarians are believed to have been masters of technology. Their understanding of energy, water systems, and agriculture could have revolutionized the way we think about sustainable living today. Their road networks and transportation systems allowed them to move goods and people efficiently across vast distances, furthering their dominance. But what might be most intriguing is their technology. Could Tartarians have developed something resembling modern-day energy sources centuries ahead of us? Could they have harnessed the power of the earth, the wind, or even other forms of energy that we are just now discovering? What impact did Tartaria make on the world? While much of Tartaria's influence was erased from the historical record, it's said that their impact rippled through the world in subtle ways. Some historians argue that the advances in architecture, engineering, and even philosophy that shaped future civilizations might have stemmed from Tartarian innovations. Had their empire survived, it's not difficult to imagine how their technological expertise could have propelled them into a leadership role on the global stage, influencing everything from trade routes to military strategies. Would they have discovered technologies that could have shaped our modern world differently? An alternative history where Tartarians were the ones to bring about the Industrial Revolution? Timeline. When did Tartaria exist? Tartaria's empire existed during a period we now refer to as the medieval era. They were believed to have flourished around the 13th century, but the full extent of their empire is often debated. Many believe that their civilization spanned from the 9th century to the 18th century, with a sudden and mysterious collapse in the late 1700s. The reason for their disappearance remains one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the Tartarian Empire. Some argue that their downfall came as a result of environmental changes, such as the infamous mud flood that buried entire cities under feet of debris. Others suggest political upheaval or invasions from other empires led to their collapse. But what if this disappearance wasn't as simple as it appears? Could the Tartarian Empire have gone underground, leaving behind only faint traces of their existence for us to uncover? How did they live? Life in Tartaria was said to be structured yet highly innovative. The population was large, spread across vast areas, and relied on sophisticated systems of governance, trade, and agriculture. The society was a blend of various cultures and peoples, all of whom contributed to its incredible advancements. The Tartarians were pioneers in many areas of science, engineering, and medicine, with records suggesting that their understanding of the world far outstripped that of their contemporaries. Their lifestyle was centered around the principles of communal living and innovation, with people working together to advance the empire's technological prowess. Imagine a world shaped by Tartaria, the enigmatic empire that once sparked wonder with its grand achievements. But what if Tartaria never disappeared? What if its brilliance continued to thrive into the modern era? Picture life in 2024, transformed by Tartaria's unmatched technological advances and cultural sophistication. From engineering marvels to innovations that redefine progress, this surviving empire would have reshaped societies and inspired awe across the globe. Join us as we journey through this vision and uncover how Tartaria's legacy could have revolutionized our present world. The foundations of Tartarian ingenuity. The Tartarian Empire was not just a myth, it was a beacon of human innovation and resilience. Known for their majestic architecture, Tartarians built structures that seamlessly combined functionality and splendor. Colossal buildings boasted intricacies that confounded even the most learned scholars of Europe. But the true marvel lay beyond their aesthetics. The empire was reputed to harness natural energies, creating technologies that went unmatched. Picture entire cities illuminated by an understanding of electromagnetic power that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. Tartaria's military system was rumored to be one of the most advanced of its time, utilizing cutting-edge technology and strategic innovation that could have changed the course of warfare. Their army was allegedly highly organized, with a unique focus on mobility and rapid deployment, possibly due to their mastery of early engineering, like the use of advanced transportation methods. Imagine a military that didn't just rely on brute force but leveraged infrastructure, like their vast networks of roads and water systems, to outmaneuver their enemies. Additionally, their defense systems might have included high-tech fortifications, which, had they survived into the 2024, could have influenced global military strategies and even deterrence tactics. With Tartaria's advanced technologies, would we have seen an entirely different form of international conflict? One focused more on intelligence and strategy than sheer firepower? One of the most intriguing discoveries tied to Tartaria is the unearthing of the Tartaria tablets. Found in the late 19th century in present-day Romania, these clay tablets feature inscribed symbols that baffled historians and archaeologists. Some believe these artifacts point to an advanced written language, suggesting Tartaria's society had a profound understanding of communication and record-keeping far earlier than many of their contemporaries. If their civilization had survived, who knows what further breakthroughs they might have offered in literacy and data management. Could these mysterious symbols have been just the beginning of a complex knowledge-sharing system that would rival even today's technologies? The mysterious fall and the mud floods. If Tartaria was indeed so advanced, why did it fall? Many point to the enigmatic mud floods, catastrophic events that, as some theorize, buried entire cities, turning thriving metropolises into ghost towns. Whether due to seismic activity, deliberate sabotage, or an unexplained natural anomaly, the world was left to ponder remnants of buried greatness. Imagine a vibrant city skyline, now hidden under layers of silt and soil, its past glories muted under earth and mystery. This sudden disappearance paved the way for other empires to rise and reshape history, erasing Tartaria's mark on civilization. The hypothetical evolution, 18th to 21st century. Now imagine a world where Tartaria endured and continued to innovate. By the 1800s, the empire could have revolutionized the industrial age with technologies that outpaced steam and coal, favoring electromagnetic and piezoelectric innovations. Picture engines that used electromagnetic propulsion and power grids that drew from the Earth's natural energy fields. While Europe was building steam locomotives, Tartaria would be exploring gravity-defying transportation and wireless communications centuries ahead of its time. Tartaria's technological innovations in 2024. In 2024, an existing Tartarian empire would showcase a world brimming with inventions that defy modern norms. Imagine cities gleaming with structures that could shift shape to adapt to climate changes or energy-efficient transport systems capable of seamless, high-speed travel without rails or roads. Tartarian scientists would have mastered quantum computing decades earlier, leading to unparalleled advancements in AI, medical technology, and robotics. Homes would be equipped with devices that blend form with function, such as furniture capable of energy generation, touchless control panels, and holographic communication systems. A world transformed by Tartarian influence. Their influence wouldn't end at home. Their advanced technology and philosophy would ripple outwards, challenging Western norms and sparking global technological races. Energy crises and pollution would be non-issues due to Tartaria's long-standing commitment to sustainability through innovation. Their trade routes would spark a new age of cultural and technological exchange, reshaping art, education, and economic structures around the world. Imagine an international network powered by Tartarian advances, nations collaborating and competing, united by a common thread of progress sparked by this great empire. From groundbreaking technology to global influence, the Tartarian Empire's continued existence would weave through every aspect of life. But here's the real question. Would their enduring presence have unified the world under a banner of innovation? Or would competing powers fracture it into chaos? How would their advancements change our modern understanding of power, culture, and technology? What do you think? A world shaped by Tartaria's wisdom, or a lost opportunity buried under centuries of mystery? Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and be a part of our
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. All right. Good old Tartaria. I'm gonna try not to overread, but there's plenty of information out there about Tartaria, man. We're gonna start with this little link right here from the library. Rick Andrea. Alright. If you notice something on a lot of these Tartaria maps, they always including a piece of America on there. Alright, I noticed that about a lot of these maps. Yeah. Hold on, before we get into it, let's bring up an old map that we already looked at. Because we already know a lot of these older maps, there was no separation between India Superior. This is America, right? So-called North America and South America. Here is India, China, Cathay. Alright. No separation, no Bering Strait right here. It's just all one giant landmass. Alright, here's Africa, so-called Africa, or Nubia. Alright. Let's get one more map. Let me see. Alright. Cathay. Right here. In India Superior. Alright. Land of Prester John. Alright. But they got Cathay. They got it over here now. So can I zoom in? Yeah. They putting it over here. With a strait. Alright, they call it the Strait of Anion. Now they call it the Bering Strait. Alright. They got Azareth, Tartaria. Alright. But they always including a little piece of America to go along with it. Alright, let's get into this article real quick. The official history is hiding a major world power which existed as late as the 19th century. Tartary was a country with its own flag, its own government, and its own place on the map. Its territory covered most of the modern world we know today. Yet somehow it was ever so quietly incorporated into Russia and some other countries. Sometime in the 18th century, Tartary, Moscovitz, was the biggest country in the world, covering over 3,050,000 square miles. Tartary appears to have been one country, then split up into areas like Petite Tartary, Eastern Tartary, Russian Tartary, Chinese Tartary, Mongol Tartary. According to the 1979 Webster's Dictionary, there's no such place as Tartary or Tartaria, unless we accept the word Tartarus, which according to Webster is described as being a place in Hades reserved for the worst of offenders. Webster had to admit that tartar sauce was a thing, and also defines the word Tartar as a native or inhabitant of Tartary, but then adds a person of ill or violent temper, and one that proves to be unexpectedly formidable as alternative definitions. Once it gets the tartar on teeth causing decay, it becomes clear that there was deliberate intent to remove Tartary from all history. So yeah, now they're associating the word Tartary, right? You say you got tartar on your teeth, all right, which is causing decay, or Tartarus, right, which is the deep abyss that is used as a dungeon of torment and suffering for the wicked, and as the prison for the Titans. So that's coming from the New Testament, man. I already looked that up. That's in 2 Peter, I believe. So they then took it and turned it into a prison for the Titans, like what you got in Enoch, when the Nephilim, what was it? No, the fallen Watchers, when they got locked up. All right, so they got a play off of that Enoch in 2 Peter. They got them in what's it called, Tartarus, a deep abyss, dungeon of torments. All right, there were well-established giants throughout the Tartary territory. The Tartarians are thought to have been breatharians, a being who does not rely on the digestion and burning of calories from food or water, but instead rather receives energy straight from the ether, much how plants get food for energy. Alright, the ether is thought to be the very fabric of the space-time continuum that some would associate with electrons, the wind, the Holy Spirit, the atmosphere, and the gases in the atmosphere, such as oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen. Since Tartarians quite possibly had a completely altered digestion system than the one we now have, they have no need for toilets in their bathrooms. Alright, now this is them saying this, right? They're trying to make the Tartarians giants who don't need to eat, like You know, they're trying to separate them from regular people. All right. Now, there were giants. We know there's a history of plenty of giants in America. A lot of them was buried in mounds. All right. Could they have been the ones that were building many of these structures? I mean, they probably did, since a lot of the buildings uh, have giant pathways to get in and out. All right. So yes, giants play a role in this whole Tartarian thing. All right. But were they all giants? Were they all some type of special creature? Or is this part of the cover up, man? Alright? They said the Tartarians were masters of masonry, brickwork, steampunk style technology, universally free energy, and grand architecture. Alright, their Roman and Gothic style architecture can still be found in current Gaius as water ducts, city halls, banks, water stations, cathedrals, churches, hospitals, and similar public and city work type buildings. The buildings were structurally sound and many are still in excellent condition today. And where did they grow their food? Not found, with no gardens present in many of the castles with little access to farmland. Alright, here they go now. So they get a little carried away, man. Alright. Tartaria, originally pronounced Tartaria without the first R, so originally it's Tartaria, and they then later added the R to make it Tartaria. Alright, just like they played with the R in a lot of things. Something about that letter R, huh? Maybe the R for remix. I don't know. Is the name of the pre-Mongolian empire that originated in northern Asia before spanning the entire northern hemisphere. Great Tartaria was the largest empire during its time and would have still been the largest empire today. The denotation of lost souls spending eternity in Tartarus, the underworld, is due to the Tartarian empire having been buried and wiped out during the liquefaction, mud flood events, earthquakes, and volcanoes. So they're trying to bury you in the underworld called Tartarus. Alright. Alright. So when you're dealing with Tartaria, man, you gotta dodge a lot of hijacks, man. Alright, people getting carried away with this whole Tartary stuff. This says the Tartarians or Tartars were the indigenous people quite possibly founded by Noah's sons, making of the world-renowned Tartarian empire. Alright, some were tall, yeah, like we said, giants, 8 to 12 feet in height. Now, the reason I brought up the book of Joshua is so we can think back to that time of Joshua a little bit. Because if you remember in the book of Joshua, when they were taking over the Holy Lands, a lot of people didn't get expelled or kicked out like they were supposed to, right? So it was still a lot of tribes living around them. And this was the cause of their downfall. Most High said that's going to be a snare unto you. Because you didn't kick all those people out like I asked you to. So, they saying the downfall was this and that. We know what the real downfall was. The worship of these idols, man. Because you let these people stay around you that was doing no good. And they end up influencing you to do no good just like them. Just like we have Everybody wants to call themselves influencers today, right? It's nothing changed, man. It's the same thing, man. It's nothing new under the sun. All right. That's why you need to be careful who you hang around, who you associate with. You can't rock with everybody, man. Nah. We're just gonna skim through this a little bit. Moscow Tartary was conquered by the Romanos in the middle of the 19th century, so in the 1800s, huh? Samarkand, the capital of the independent Tartary, was seized by the Romanos' army in 1868. All right. Now, if you don't know the Romanos, I looked it up. The House of Romanov, Imperial Dynasty of Russia from 1613 to 1917, they say. Alright, reigning Imperial House of Russia. They achieved prominence after Anastasia Romanovna married Ivan the Terrible, the first crowned Tsar of all Russia. Alright. So it's the House of Romanov. That's what they're talking about. Alright. The last emperor of Russia and his immediate family were executed in 1918. But there are still living descendants of other members of the imperial house. Alright. Just a little backdrop on the Romanos. According to the maps of the 18th century, the border of Moscow Tartary was very close to Moscow. Such a dangerous proximity greatly concerned the Romanos. It is possible that it was the reason for Peter the Great to make the decision to relocate the capital further away in St. Petersburg to the swampy coast of the Gulf of Finland. Now, we're going to get it in a little while that what you think of today with these places is not the true location. Alright, this happened right here in your backyard in the Americas. Okay? We're going to get it in a little bit. This location was convenient for the Romanos. The capital was far away from the Hordian Tartary known as the Great Horde, and the subsequent term hoarding, meaning to take more than you need, which was completely against the Tartary mantra of just give back more than you take. Alright, so they believed in giving back more than you take. In the case of an invasion of Siberian American horde, it would be easier to flee to the west from St. Petersburg than from Moscow. Alright. Let's see. Okay, to the far east, the coast of the Pacific Ocean to the Sakhalin Island. Okay. Moscow Tartary span. They got it up in Alaska too and North America. Okay. Alright. The conflict between Moscow Tartary and Romanov Russia, originally small in size, ended in the second half of the 18th century with the famous, allegedly peasant war against Pugachevs. The Romanovs succeeded in agreeing peace separatingly with Turkey and defeating the Great Tartary. Okay, so what was this, 1700s? Only after this, the European immigrants who had settled on the Atlantic seaboard of North America ventured west, inland, over the continents. For decades, they seized the North American territories of Moscow Tartary, left without any governmental authority. Today, this has been beautifully built and correctly narrated on in Hollywood movies about the very noble white frontiersmen and the very bad Indians. Alright? Yeah. Okay. So you saying they Mongolian, Native Americans were Mongolian descendants of Tartary. Oh. Now this right here, you must be talking about the $5 ends. Not the real natives. Alright? But yeah. The history of the war, okay. Yeah. Hold on, let me see anything else I want to get on this site. They were into a national secret. To preserve the secret, the infamous secret police was created, where the executioners tortured and hanged those who knew too much. As a result, in 1776, straight after the defeat of Pugashev, the United States of America emerged on May 1st, 1776, where Freemason Adam Weishaupt established their territorial claims. As a result, the United States emerged on May 1st. Yes, so this is connected to the Illuminati. Yes. All right. The went about voraciously rewriting her story. Okay. Washington and Oregon were ceded to the Romanos in 1819. The rest of North America to the USA. Up until now, the native Russian population of America is being persistently forced to forget their language and their past. Now we got it in my last video about them insane asylums, right? How they was forced in those asylums, all right, for mind control and to erase their memory. All right, so this goes hand in hand, man. Everything is running together. Let me see. In the 1992 Tartarstan Constitution, Tartarstan is defined as a sovereign state. Tatar became a name for populations of the former Golden Horde in Europe. Okay. Tatar. The Persian words were first recorded in the 13th century in reference to the hordes of Genghis Khan and of unknown origin, said to be intimately from Tata, a name of the Mongols for themselves. Tata. Tata, huh? That's interesting. Okay. Let me just read through this real quick and see if there's anything else. Okay. Alright. Tartary, a vast country in the northern parts of Asia, bounded by Siberia in the northwest. This is called Great Tartary. The Tartaries who lie south of Moscow and Siberia are those of Etruscan, Circassia, and Dagestan. Situated northwest of the Caspian Sea, the Kalmyk Tartars, who lie between Siberia and the Caspian Sea. Okay. Alright. Cool. And then going into Roman mythology. We already talked about Tartarus. Mm. All right. Oh, okay, here we go. To add some credibility or to take away some to the revised history, below we find an excerpt from the CIA document declassified in 1998 and created in 1957 about the conspiracy to eliminate Tartary from history. So, CIA document. All right, it was declassified in 1998. Or let us take the matter of history, which, along with religion, language, and literature, uh, constitute the core of people's cultural heritage. Here again, the communists have interfered in a shameless manner. For example, on 9 August 1944, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, sitting in Moscow, issued a directive ordering the party's Tartar Provincial Committee to proceed to a scientific revision of the history of Tartaria to liquidate serious shortcomings and mistakes of a nationalistic character committed by individual writers and historians in dealing with Tartar history. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank. Was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to Great Russia aggressions to hide the facts of the real course of Tartar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians on the orders of the Communist Party have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in a good light. Needless to say, histories which present the facts truthfully have been withdrawn and destroyed so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning the true facts of their nation's past. This is coming from a CIA declassified document of them erasing the history of Tartary, or rewriting it. So this history that we have today is inaccurate. Okay. Now they talking about the tablets. There you go. Alright. Okay. Overall analysis of Tartaria tablets has led to many interesting hypotheses about early human culture and the emergence of communication by writing. Origins of writing, magic or accountancy? I didn't even read this. Oh, look at your boy, Thoth. Okay. Okay. No, you don't need to read all that. Alright, Tartarus in the King James Bible. Okay. Yeah. The Old Testament talks about Sheol. Alright. But the New Testament, they're changing it to hell. Tartarus. Okay. Alright, we ain't getting into all that. Let me see. Anything else from this site? This is a long article, man. Okay. Interesting. Tart. Chinese people themselves from ancient times. Wait, what? What they say? I am Tartar called people who came to the northern parts of the infamous wall beyond China, stretching from west to east 300 miles and more. Armenia continued as a series of demands were excluded from Dao government attack China people themselves from ancient times because of the failure of the letter R. The failure of the letter R, called Tat. Note of the translator, instead of Tart. She is in Old Tartary, then east to the now the European recognized and Western ideas where hmm. Hmm. It is clear, therefore, Tartary, Old Tartary, Occidentalories, alright, of which John Paul the Venetian in 18, when almost the whole of Asia entered their province, China also waged the region Cateo, Mandarin, alright. Hmm. Yeah, we got a lot more articles we're gonna get into, man. I'm just trying to get through this one. It's a lot on here, man. You know, you gotta take what you can out of it. The Senesis, the Chinese. That's the real name of the Chinese, the Senesis, the Senecies, so-called Chinese people today. All right, we already got it. Part one that ancient China is right here, though. Okay, I think we about done with this site. What else we got? China and Tartary were interlinked throughout modern history, dating back to 1200. These are the male headdresses. Okay. Oh man, let me see if there's anything else I want to get. Alright, we're gonna move on. Dang, this is a long article. I didn't even realize it was this long. I just read the beginning of it. I might come back to this in a second. Let's move on. Okay. I want to get to Coronado Expedition. I can't get this zoomed in. Here we go. Wait, what? Alright. Coronado, alright. Famous explorer, right? Expedition continued. The rest of history of this voyage to Akuko, Tugas, Sisuis, and Quivira by Francisco Lopez de Gamara. Alright, we're just gonna get the first paragraph real quick. They agreed to pass further into the country, which was told to them to be better and better. So they came to Akuko, or Cuso, a town upon a exceeding strong hill, and from thence Don Garcias Lopez de Cardenas went with his company of horsemen unto the sea, and Francisco Vasquez went to Tiguez, which standeth on the bank of a river. See if we get this a little closer. There they had news of Axa and Quivira, where it was said was a king whose name was Tartarax, with a long beard. hoary-headed and rich, which was girded with a brachymarts, which preyed upon a pair of beads, which worshipped a cross of gold and image of a woman, the queen of heaven. In the country of Tigwex there were melons in white and red cotton, on which they made large mantles. From Tigwex they went in 4 days' journey to Siswick, a small town in 4 leagues. Thence they met with a new kind of oxen, wild and fierce, whereof the first day they killed 80, which suffused the army with flesh. From Cuswick they went to Kivera, which by their account is almost 300 leagues distant, through mighty plains and sandy heaps, smooth and wearisome, and bare of wood, so that they made heaps of ox dung for want of stones and trees, that they might not lose themselves upon their return. For 3 horses were lost in that plain, one Spaniard, who went from his company on hunting all that way, and the plains are as full of crooked-backed oxen as the mountain Serena in Spain is of sheep. But there is no people but such as keep those cattle. One day it rained in that plain a great shower of hail, as big as oranges. At length they came to Kivera and found Tartarax, whom they sought, a hoary-headed man, naked and with a jewel of copper hanging at his neck, which was all his riches. The Spaniards, seeing the false report of so famous riches, returned to Tigwix, without seeing either cross or show of Christianity, and thence to Mexico. In the end of March 1542, Francisco Vasquez fell from his horse in Tigwix, and with the fall fell out of his wits and became mad, which some took to be for grief, and others thought to be counterfeited. For they were much offended with him, because he peopled not the country. Kivera is in 40 degrees. It is a temperate country, and have very good waters, and much grass, plums, mulberries, nuts, melons, and grapes, which ripen very well. There is no cotton, and they apparel themselves in ox hides and deer skins. It grieved Don Antonio de Mendoza very much that the army returned home, for he had spent about 300,000 pesos of gold in the enterprise, and owed a great part thereof still. Many sought to have dwelt there, but Francisco Vasquez de Coronado, which was rich and lately married to a fair wife, would not consent, saying they could not maintain nor defend themselves in so poor a country and so far from succor. Alright? So this was Coronado back in 40, what did he say? 42. Alright. Now we can find that's on the map. We can go over here to today's Rumsey, or the Urbano, what's his name? Urbano Monte. What year was this? Like 1587 or something like that. I think 1587. But let me see. Alright, so he said he went. Where was that? Okay, Oxa, right here. Alright. Tiguas, Siswick, all these areas that we just read. It's right here, okay? Oxa, Tiguas, Siswick. Alright, now we over here right at the top of California, right? Alright. And Kivera. Alright. Now, also, if you keep going, where is that? Let me find it. Alright, we also got a griffin right there, alright? For the flag of Tartaria, right? Oh, here we go. Tartary. Okay. Alright. You see it? Tartary. Alright, and they say that these tents are supposed to be Tartary tents, right? Okay. Yeah, we right there. Alright. This is close to where the... Oh, it's right on the Holy Land, ain't it? Alright. Ain't this the Holy Land? We got the Utah area right here. Right on top of that, you got Tartary. Okay. Alright. And they said, what's his name? Tartarex. King Tartarex. Alright. What we got his name was? Tartarex. Something. Yeah, that would match up. Alright. Let's click it over here. Let's see. Oh, hold on. That's what I wanted to get. Alright. No, not this one. Hold on. Where is that? Oh. So much stuff I had pulled up for Tartary, man. I had to delete some stuff because it was starting to become crazy. I got a link on it. I can't remember where it's at. Hold on. I think this might be it. Yeah. All right. Here we go. All right. Tartary. Alright, Grand Tartary. Alright. I had a link about Tartarex specifically. We're gonna find it in a second. It might be connected to this. Alright, we just read this. This was that CIA document. Alright. What they say right here? But of these old abandoned cities of Tartary, not a tradition remains. They are tombs without an epitaph. Okay. Alright. Alright, hold on. We're gonna come back to this link in a second. I was trying to find about Tartarex, man. I had a link on it. I don't even know where it's at now. Anyway, don't worry about it. I'm sure we'll get to it. Alright, let's just get a quick summary of what they say. What is Tartar? Alright. Tartars, any member of several Turkic-speaking peoples that collectively number more than 5 million in the late 20th century, so the 1900s. Alright. Tatar or Tartar? Tatar. The Tatars are also settled in Kazakhstan. Okay. So they saying that these people, alright, over there in Russia, right? The Mongols. Alright. Connected to Genghis Khan, right? After Genghis Khan's empire broke up, the Tartars became especially identified with the western part of the Mongol domain, which included most of European Russia and was called the Golden Horde. Alright. That's what they say. Alright, this is in the Britannica.com. Alright, Wikipedia, when you look up Tartary, this is what they telling you. Alright, remember they rewrote the history on this. Alright, we already got that. CIA document. So what they telling us today is not accurate. Alright, this was a blanket term in Western European literature and cartography for a vast part of Asia bonded by the Caspian Sea, Ural Mountains, Pacific Ocean, and northern borders of China, India, and Persia. Alright, of course they're gonna give you this map. Alright. But we already got it on the other map that it was all connected. And when they say Caspian Sea, just remember, we already got this before, but you'll bring it back. Alright, Caspian Sea, right next to Florida, right? Where you say the Gulf of Mexico is at today. Alright, India. Alright, there you go. Alright, so let's go ahead. Let's get to the stolen history right quick. Matter of fact, nah. Let's talk about the Ark of the Covenant. Alright, the Ark of the Covenant was used to help take over the world. Alright. Hey, I'm trying to zoom in on this. It won't let me. Okay. The vast empire of Tartary is a country that appears on ancient maps. It has worldwide influence and once covered North and South America, Australia, New Zealand, most of Russia, China, Europe, Japan, India, Korea. For the most part, the citizens of this country were led by their own guidance of natural law, honoring truth and integrity. They enjoyed a high standard of living, dwelt in harmony with nature. Alright, who this sounding like right here, man? They built amazing edifices all over the world. The wondrous cathedrals of Europe and enormous aqueducts in southern Europe and in Mexico, the Grand Canal in China, and the Erie Canal in America. The fabulous outside arenas around the Mediterranean Sea, the Colosseum in Rome, magnificent temples in St. Petersburg, Russia, so they say. They lived in luxuriant villas. Alright? They made ziggurats, star forts, dolmens, earthen mounds, all of which utilize etheric natural energy. They created exquisite statues and crafted golden ornaments. They built the Great Wall in what is now China. Marco Polo wrote an extensive and detailed account of Asia in the 13th and 14th centuries and did not even mention a wall. The Great Wall is not seen on any maps predating the late 1600s, so most of its construction occurred in the 1700s, and it was built to keep the encroaching Chinese out of Tartaria. The openings of the wall on the north side towards the former Tartary, not on the South China facing side. It should be called the Great Wall of Tartaria. The further back in time you go, the more advanced it gets. There are many pyramids of different kinds, megalithic temples hewn out of solid rock, the Ellora caves in India, the colossal underground monolithic churches of Lalibela, Ethiopia, extensive underground tunnel systems, the astonishing Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt. The earlier the monolithic stone, the bigger it is and the more precision it is cut with. The earlier the structure, the more capable we are replicating it. Never was mortar used. In past ages, the world was more diverse. Skeletons of giants are found on all continents, and remains of beings with elongated skulls, graveyards of little people, and horned human-like entities have been unearthed. Now it is as if these beings have never existed. Like the Tartans, they are never mentioned. We live in a virtual reality where true history is ignored and covered up, a total false narrative is taught. Fantasies have replaced truth, and everything is pushed way back to the remote past. Other advanced structures are credited to local people who came later and have no idea how to build them. Deception has been utilized to push history back 1,000 years and create an artificial dark age. Here we go with hijack, alright? The time of JC was less than 1,000 years ago. Right, okay. In the Middle Ages, the INJ before the numbers designated, okay, not the number one. For example, I-346 is 346 years after the time of JC. So they say, alright? Now we know this character JC is a duplication of somebody, a replication of somebody for real. But him being the savior and what they say today, nah, that ain't it. Alright? Way back in the Old Testament, they say, at the time immediately following Exodus, it states that the Israelites used the Ark of Covenant as a weapon of war against the Amorites, Midianites, and Philistines. So the use of energy weapons has been going on for over 1,000 years. It was perfected to the point where it was able to take out many millions of Tartarians, they said. The energy weapons melted cities, destroyed the civilizations of Egypt, Greece, and Rome, which were approximately of the same time period. Alright, here we go. They keep throwing JC in there, don't they? And were heavily influenced by Tartaria. Not only are they pushed way back into remote history, the extent of their empires have been fabricated. Destroying the pyramid complex was the first objectives of the Israelites. Pumapunka, which is part of the Tiahuanacu complex in Bolivia, and interlocking megaliths in andesite and diorites. These are types of granite only surpassed in hardness by diamonds, but they were somehow carved with laser-like flatness. Now they are broken and shattered and blown to bits. Tiahuanacu and Pumapunku is said to have been built by a simple local migrating tribe. This idea is used all over the world to dismiss and cover up the ancient advanced cultures. Energy weaponized from the Ark of the Covenant is what brought down the walls of Jericho. The Ark was an electrical capacitor composed of silver and brass alloys and gilded with gold. Its true purpose was to store and direct energy from the earth to outside sources. But transporting it around was very dangerous and it caused people to become sick and die. It had a constant radiation, but it also sent out intermittent electrical surges where many people were killed instantly. The ones who carried it had to wear protective clothing. The electrical capacity of such an apparatus would be over 500 volts. Opposing armies would be defenseless against such a weapon. The volume or cubic capacity of the empty coffer inside the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza is, according to the Egyptian tradition, the Israelites plundered Egypt during the upheaval at the time of Exodus. Alright, so here they go with the Giza talk, right? Now we know where Mizraim is, alright? We already got that. What part was that? Part 3? Alright, so yeah, the tribe of Israel also used religion as a means to get their foot in the door in the ruling affairs of foreign countries. So you talking about modern day? Must be talking about modern day, right? A religious leader holds great power, able to influence many simple minds who believe the leader's edicts are from the Most High. The Druids who held such sway in England were Ish. So were the Jesuits. So have been all the popes and the Mormon leaders. The reason why Ish people look down upon Christians is because they have invented the Christian religion. Ish beliefs are just a rendition of the former appearances and interactions of planetary gods. Books written in Tartary were rewritten and sold as Ish history. Much of the content was fabricated. Much of the content was fabricated and interfused with traditional local beliefs. This is how they sold their religion. They used monks to write what they wanted, making them think that they were doing God's work. The burning of old books and rewriting of them in order to change history is the real Reformation. The Library of Alexandria in Egypt was purposely destroyed to limit knowledge. Making deals with kings was a way they were able to get control of a country's financial system. Once one controls the money supply and its allotment, then they control the country. In this way, righteous kings were replaced by insurgent kings who defrauded the people to take part in unjust wars. Just faking events such as murder, blaming on another country, and some patriotic and religious slogans demonize the other country, and you have created a war. In the Middle Ages, the spraying of viruses not only eliminated entire villages, it caused the Black Plague, which killed over 70 million people in Europe. Disease was a favorite weapon used against the Tartarian kingdom. In 1346, the siege of Kaffa in Ukraine, the Tartarians suffered an epidemic of plague brought on by the capitulating of viruses into the city. Fire was used to burn crops and create famine. Alright, so here we go. Alright, we got famine and we got pestilence. Alright, to bring down this so-called Tartarian kingdom, right? Just like the curses in Deuteronomy, right? Fire, okay. The 1490 saw the first signs of the collapse of the Tartary Empire. In 1666, the city of London was intentionally burned. Tartaria was severely weakened in 1775. Oh, ain't that something? 1775, it was severely weakened. And we just got it in 1776 that the Illuminati was formed, and then so was the Corporation of the United States. Right? But it remained until the early 1800s. When Napoleon attacked Russia, Moscow was hit by an energy weapon. So was Washington, D.C. in the War of 1812. These were actually wars against Tartarians. Now, we know the so-called Indians was fighting against Hijack. Alright, Tecumseh was going against, what's his name? Harrison, Governor Garrison or Harrison in 1812, around that time period. All right, so who were these Tartarians really? Right? The first two world wars were to wipe out the remaining Tartarian influences. Genghis Khan was said to be a Mogul. Mogul is just a made up name which is then associated with Mongolia. Genghis Khan fought to restore the king of Tartary and to reclaim their land. His mounted warriors were called Tartars. Now Tartary is associated with hell. Alright, we got that. Alright, Tartarus, right? Many buildings in America demolished or still standing, said to be built by early pioneers or native people in America, were in fact built by the Tartars. Disease was also used against the native people in the Americas. It is estimated that 95% of them perished from disease. 95% perished from disease, mostly smallpox. The Aztecs looked upon the Spaniards as a returning of their light. Dang, you think about that, 95%? So that remnant is 5% or less. That sounds about right. Their beliefs harken back to the events in the ancient sky when a light-colored god came down from the heavens to save them. Oh, is that so? But these light-colored people came to kill them. You talking about pale-faced people. The old world order was replaced by the new world order, and Gregorian calendar was instituted to force the common people to accept a new false chronology. Peace and freedom was been replaced by being fenced up in strict borders. The suppression of Tartary coincides with the new teaching of evolution. We just think we are evolving. We have become disconnected with nature and disconnected with reality. It was not always like that. The farther back in time you go, the more connected and at peace we were with ourselves, with the animals, with the lands we lived on. We were fluttering long creatures 1,000 years before the sea, and the wind gave us words. How can we express the ancient days in us with only the sounds of our yesterdays? Alright. Yeah. I like the later part of this, man. All this right here. This sound real familiar with these so-called Tartarians, right? But they trying to call them some type of special creatures that come from North Pole or whatnot. Alright. Now, they are special. Alright. But it's a remnant, 5% or less of what we did have, still floating around today. Alright. Let's keep it rolling. I don't know if I'm gonna go through all this stuff today. Let me see if I can hit the main things. Here we go. Grand Tartary was in North America. Alright. There go the flag. Okay. This is americastheoldworld.com. Alright, we're going to run through this little article real quick. Grand Tartary was in North America and is an appropriate post since it's been a lot of talk about the Tartaria lately, since this was an advanced civilization that was suppressed by the powers that be. Tartary on old maps is in Asia near Russia. What if America was Asia Major and Moscow, which is the capital of Russia, was in North America? Francisca or France. This evidence could prove that America was the grand or superior Tartary. Alright, it was. Just like it was superior everything. India superior, Asia major, and Grand Tartary. Alright? All of that. And this all has to do with the story of the Israelites, man. Alright? Which they want to destroy oh so bad. Alright? Let's click on this map that he got on here. So we got Moscow right there. Alright, Makosa, Nuremberg, Francisca. Alright. So France, Russia, the original Russia. All that. Everything was over here, man. Alright, they took a piece of everything and spread it out all over the place. Alright. I'm just checking out this map real quick. Man, what's going on right here, man? That's what's his name, ain't it? It's that Greek god, ain't it? Alright. They keep saying New Spain. That made me think it's Old Spain. Yeah. So we got Moscow right there. Alright. What would that be today? Yeah, it's close to New York. Alright, let's continue on. I'm gonna run through this little article real quick. 1562, Diego Gutierrez map shows Francisca, or France, and the mythical golden city of Nuremberg that was allegedly built by Vikings. This said map also shows you Moscow, the capital of Russia. Alright. Russia, Ross, Rus, Asian, Clan Ras, Rus, Andros, in North America. Well, so much for Nuremberg being a myth, because it had to be real for it to be on an authentic map from the Library of Congress. Yes, the original French were the Franks, Clan Ross, alright, the Rus, Andros, and they were French Moors, blackamoors. Alright, now this is where he always, alright, this Hotep guy, right? He always going to the Moors, right? And we do know he's a 33rd degree Freemason. Now you look up black or Moor, okay? This means a dark-skinned person. They're gonna say African from black plus Moor. Alright, we know that black is not who you are, alright? Black, pale, colorless, alright? Dark, one of dark complexion, or pale complexion. So black and white interchangeable, right? Black and white is interchangeable. Alright? Bad, wicked, malicious, gloomy, unlucky. All these things go with black. Alright? The meaning fierce, terrible, wicked. Alright? In the court of law, if you call yourself black, you are nothing. Okay? You're not a real person. That's why a lot of people mess up when they go to court, call themselves black. Alright? But yes. Now, black can be beautiful, just like anything else, but not when you're referring to yourself as black, man. Because black is also associated with black magic, necromancy. Alright? They wear black at funerals. Alright? Darkness, black. Alright. More. To fasten to a ship. More. North African, they say. It's another general term. More. Alright. The first thing they're going to tell you is North African. Alright. Inhabitant of Mauritania. But then they got it. In the Middle Ages, this was synonym for the Negro. We know the Negro is not African. Alright, one of the race dwelling in Barbary. Alright, Barbary also hijacked. Okay. Especially those in India. Okay, so we just getting generic terms. Black and Moor. Call them blackamoors. Alright, so this is how they double talk. Alright, with the double talk. Anyway, this also explains why you have French quarters in Louisiana. They also refer to themselves as Acadians. We just got that in part 5. Alright, we got that. That's up there in Maine, Canada area. Alright. Okay, true Acadians and indigenous. Alright, Russia was established by the mighty Andros Roos Clan from Scotland when they were Saracens. Alright, Saracens, sons of Sarah, old Arabs, which explains all the black Russian icons and Islamic State flag of Russia. The Rus Asian, the Russia, with its cherry red background, Islamic crescent moon, and star. The fact that these Russians, Tartarians, and Saracens, old Arabs, explains all of the Moorish Tartarian architecture throughout Russia. We must also consider Russia, Ohio, Moscow, Ohio, since the Russians were Tartarians or Moors. Alright, it's a general term. We just got Moor, right? This term Moor means high priest of. Alright, now here we go. Here we go with some more hijack. Alright. Okay. According to the Palomero stele from ancient Egypt. So, yeah, you know these Moorish people, they love to connect to Egypt, right? Bondage. Alright. Mizraim. Alright, we already got that in part 3. The owl and the serpent dragon are hieroglyphic symbols of the Moor, so-called Moor. According to the Palermo stele from Egypt, the owl and the dragon are both flag symbols of Tartary, which makes the Moor a Tartarian. And this post is the flag of the Empire of Tartary. As you can see, Tartary was very Moorish. Alright, here we go. Now he's talking about Moors like people that call themselves Moors today. Alright, but he's also double talking because the Moors back then could be any of them copper colored people. Alright, since it has 2 red Moorish flags on its grand flag. Also, there's a tribe of American Indians, also called the Muscovy Creek Indians. Muscovy is etymologically similar spelling, phonetically similar sounding like Moscow, the capital of Russia. The Russians of Moscow were known as Muscovites. In fact, Muscovite is the plural form of Muscovy. Muscovy Creek are the Greeks, and they were blood allies with the Seminole Indians. Alright. We have a city in Florida called St. Petersburg, like Russia has a Tartarian city called St. Petersburg. The old Tampa Bay Hotel looks something like something that should be in St. Petersburg, Russia, because the same Moorish revival architecture can be found all over St. Petersburg, Russia. Alright. And he's got another map on here. Grand Tartary was in North America due to the sheer number of the World's Fair. The Americas was once so great that authorities had to hold several world fairs in North America just to explain away the evidence of a pre-advanced civilization and their tech. For example, the Americans had Pan American World Fair, the 1876 Centennial International Exposition, the Panama California Exposition, the Tennessee Centennial Exposition, the Golden Gate International Exposition, the Chicago's World Fair, St. Louis's World Fair, New York's World Fair, Jamestown, Virginia Exposition, Panama Pacific International Exposition, 1895 Cotton States and International Exposition, the Great Lakes Exposition, Alaska. All right, you get the point, right? Plenty of them. All right. The World's Fair, which leads me to believe that America's was not only India Superior, Asia Major, but also Superior, Grand Tartary, Egypt, Sumer, Babylon, Jerusalem. Yeah. All right. It had to all be over here. One of them over here, all of them had to be over here. Tartary or Tartaria is one of the greatest civilizations that was ever suppressed by the authorities. Since this was an advanced Blackamoor, here we go to Blackamoor civilization with free energy tech, modern tech, and fabulous Gothic and Greco-Roman architecture, for example, of what I am referring to, and get a glimpse of how Grand Tartary looked like. All right, read this post he got there. Okay. The plateau of Tartary is America, since America was the landmass first inhabited. Yeah, we got that. Ancient mystic Oriental masonry. The cradle of symbolism used in all masonry is placed by many of the best authorities in that country, which they believed was first inhabited, the plateau of Tartary, and from there transmitted this generation by the sages of India, Persia, Ethiopia, Egypt. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry, but to America. All right. All right. And here you go with the Blackamoor talk, okay? Talking about red Indians. Hold on. Their manner of levying a money tax upon the vanquished was precisely that of the Black Huns in Italy many centuries before, and it is unnecessary to emphasize the fact that they scalped their enemies like the modern red Indians. The Tartar features of these Black Danes are visible again and again. Okay. So he's saying the Danes were Tartars. All right. All right. Symbols of Grand Tartary found in America. We already got that. The dragon, the owl, the griffin. Queen Khalifa's dragons on many flags. Alright, and he's talking about Prester John. Okay. Cool. Oh, what he said? He said Prester John was known as the king of the Tartars, Tartaria. Alright, Prester John, we talking about King David. King of Asia, King of India, King of the Orient, the East, the Dragon King, the Dragon Emperor, and many more titles. So we have a connection here to Tartary, since the dragon was a symbol of Tartary and is on the flag of Tartary. Alright. And then he got a link to more. Lastly, we must consider the fairyland of Walt Disneyland in California, which also has a Moorish-style castle like the castles found in Turkey, so we have a connection. Also, the Queen of California and the Amazons and the Moorish Empress Queen Khalifa, who was known as the Griffin Queen. The griffin is a symbol of Tartary, since the griffin is on the flag of Tartary. That features the Russian or Rus bear with the 5-pointed star on it. Walt Disneyland was part of Queen Khalifa's magical kingdom, since this was one of her royal palaces. Oh, he's saying that was one of her royal palaces. Okay. Alright, cool little breakdown on this site right here. Alright, you got some images on here. Here you go. Alright, you definitely melanated. Tartary in 1577. Who was this guy? What kind of hat is that? Interesting. You also got. Okay. What kind of hat she got on? Who was this brother? Ain't that the same thing that what's her name used to be holding? The queen? It looks similar, right? She be holding that. What's that? We know the cross was an ancient symbol that's not for Christianity, man. Alright, we got Press John on there. Cool. We'll keep it rolling, man. Let me see. Get a quick little article right here. Ancient cities in the Grand Canyon, ruins of Tartaric Kingdom at Area 51. So you got the Grand Canyon on this side, and then you got the 7 cities of gold. The same thing, right? Okay. The discovery made by G. Kincaid has been claimed to be a hoax, and the average person probably thinks that it was an isolated incident. This is false. In reality, the Ma'ur priesthood inhabited North America. Beginning, you will find a series of threads of various. Okay. In fact, only a handful of Greek actually used Egypt. Most sources, Babylonian for instance, call it Mizraim, which means mound. Inside the cave in the Grand Canyon were many artifacts pointing to Egyptian king named Kian. A gold relic is holding lotus flowers in both hands, native to Egypt. This was found in the first cross tunnel of the cave. Yeah, let's get this. Which was the exact same location as the shrines in the valley. Let me get this closer. Of the kings, Kian was a descendant of King Zaphanath. Likely was Joseph in the Bible. Also, a golden tablet found, which serves as a history book, includes names that begin with King Zaphanath coming to Aslan, and information about his descendant King Kian coming to the Grand Canyon. Okay. Alright. It is generally not legal to fly into the Grand Canyon. Yeah, you can't just fly over the Grand Canyon. Special flight rules area over supposedly to keep general aviation traffic from annoying tourists. Many areas are forbidden, but why? Did you know that more mummies have been found in the southwest U.S. than anywhere on Earth? Okay, hold on. Yeah, we do know that. Alright, hold on. Let's see if he's saying anything about what we talking about. Yeah, we got that horse. Is that Alpamino Falcon? Okay, Kivera. Kivera Kingdom was ruled by a king whose name was Tartarax, Now, I do not think it was his real name. My personal opinion that king was referred to as Tartar Rex. Rex meaning king in Latin, called commander of the faithful, which today is a title reserved for the king of Morocco. Tripoli and Morocco treaties prove the U.S. belonged to Moors till 1781. Who was the first country to recognize U.S. independence? Morocco. North American Moors are the present day Iroquois. Alright, here we go with the Moor talk, man. Alright, he got all these, okay, the Mohawks and all of them. Alright, just ask yourself about a bunch of the most powerful, influential European men. Okay. Alright. Here we go with the Moor. This must be another Moor. Alright. Tartarax is called the governor of the 7 cities of Cibola, a king whose name was Tartarax, who preyed upon a pair of beads which worshipped a cross of gold in the image of a woman, the Queen of Heaven. You'll find most writings from up to 1890 said they celebrate on July 4th. What? You'll find most writings from up to 1890 said they celebrate on July 4th because of Tartarax. So here we go. We know that July 4th, any of these days, they got deeper meanings to them. Alright, and this is one of the reasons why they got destroyed. He's up here worshiping the Queen of Heaven, man. Alright, with an idol. Alright, the goddess Columbia. Uh huh. Hold on. It is said something catastrophic occurred about 1650. There is no way the Coronado expedition could observe the Grand Canyon in 1540. The Grand Canyon was not there in 1540. Mankind suffered a serious case of global amnesia. Cities like Seattle were excavated intact, and you'll see a full city much earlier than the narrative tells us. Seattle's been around. Alright, from very high in the air, they directed their magnetic force upon our cities. This is interesting because it is a common theme found all over. In Seattle, tribes describe a thunderbird that caused the destruction. Same is found in Africa, Russia, etc. Electromagnetic and magnoelectricity. Directed energy weapons are an ancient technology. Our ancestors understood how to harness the ether and atmospheric energy, had a better understanding of electromagnetic forces than we do today. Not always for the benefit of mankind. Some of the catastrophic events were man-made. Artificial earthquakes. Alright. They still using these type of weapons today, huh? Area 51, nearby town of Pahrump, Nevada, were built right over the top of existing grids, etched in the desert ground, which are very visible from above. Despite the great efforts to build up as much infrastructure as they could along the grid lines in effort to disguise them as regular paved roads and regular layout of Pahrump and the nearby airfields and government installations. So Area 51 is right over these grids, man. Now Coronado goes northeast Kansas when the Cavera Regnum was clearly located in the northwest. Yeah, I saw something else about that Kansas. They tried to say Cavera was in Kansas. Alright, we know it was in the northwest. Alright, so Coronado, they tried to, I guess when they found it, they tried to redirect it somewhere else. All right. Let me see. Do I want to get this article real quick? Mm. The United States is defined as a federal corporation under U.S. Code 3002, Section 15. The Virginia Company was turned into the United States during the non-occurring Revolutionary War by the Freemason founding fathers who were serving the Grand Lodge of England. The Virginia Company was issued by the British royal family from the city of London Corporation for North American settlements. In 1213, King John, 1213, King John surrendered the Kingdom of England to the Holy See under the Golden Bull. All right, now we know this is right around the time where Prester John and Genghis Khan was going at it, wasn't it? Well, at the early 1200s, and they got King John right here surrendered the Kingdom of England to the Holy See under the Golden Bull. In 1215, under direct papal authority, King John issued the Magna Carta. Latin for Great Charter, and that established the 1 mile square block called the City of London Corporation as a sovereign entity from England and London. The Holy See uses Latin for official documents, and the Vatican uses Latin as its official language. Novus Ordo Seclorum is Latin, translates to the New Order of Ages on the United States Great Seal and the United States $1 bill. Washington, D.C. is located in both Virginia and Maryland. That is Virgin Maryland. D.C. was originally called Rome in 1669. All right, we got that in part 5, which is stated in the Catholic Encyclopedia. D.C. is Roman architecture, and Capitol Hill is named after the Capitoline Hill in Rome. Or is it really the Capitoline Hill in Rome? The ancient Roman fasces symbol is all over federal buildings and federal seals. The federal government is based on the Roman Republic, which was a fascist empire. Roman fasces, where the word fascist comes from. They had bundled caning rods and an axe for anyone who disagreed with Roman laws. The Colonna family ceremonially ruled over Capitoline Hill, which represents political power of Rome's corporate empire. The column symbolizes the political support that maintains their claim to the governmental land ownership. Washington, D.C. is Roman architecture and has the Roman fasces symbol all over the U.S. federal buildings and U.S. seals. Fascism means a centralization of power. Capitol Hill is named after the Capitoline Hill in Rome. The NWO also rewrote his story during the revision of history during the epic reset between the mid-1800s until the 1930s. Alright, right around the time when they had all those asylums going on. Alright, you had orphan trains, you had incubator babies, you had world fairs. Alright, right after the Civil War, they started rewriting everything, man. This wasn't that long ago. When the court of Judah David Rockefeller, along with the Rothschilds, began the many stories of the Big Bang. Alright, now we got that in part 5. If you saw part 5, this Rockefeller and these Rothschilds, who people think is really running the world, is really another family, man. There's other families too, man. Alright, remember, if they tell you about it, these ain't the ones. But they did play. They did have a play in the takeover, man. Began the many stories of the Big Bang, evolution, and the history of religious myth and lore. The court, how Judah were the Akanishi Jewish people who were conscripted by the Vatican to be allowed to make all the money and all the fame, as long as the Vatican, Jesuits, and 13 satanic bloodlines would be provided with information and power. The Vatican set up confessionals, the same purpose, and runs a worldwide spy spook agency called the Entity, which owns and controls all major spy agencies, including the CIA, NSA, MI6, Mossad, etc. This is part of their one world order, as stated in Latin on the back of the US dollar. Alright, it's on your $1 bill, man. The old world order with a benevolent Tartarian. Okay, so the old world order was Tartarian, they saying. One of their only primary directives was that what you take back from nature, you give back more. Yeah, we got that. And this sounds like something that an Israelite would say. Their nature nurtures was based on, oh, here we go, the hijack. Alright, Isis, moon goddess, who created and provided for all. Okay, now we just got, alright, so is this when, this is why it happened then. Alright, this is why they went down bad. Alright, because they was worshiping the moon goddess at this time, who created and provided for all. One can only conclude, given the extremely similar structures we see throughout the world, that all lived in common language and were all related in common thought, intention, and design. Alright, now this was the downfall side of Tartary, man. Alright, when they started worshiping Queen of Heaven, whatever you want to call her, man. They had healing centers for animals. They had passive relations with all life because they had advanced their consciousness to emanate love and benevolence to all. Their flag was of a griffin, which was a real animal. The griffin is part human, part eagle, part lion, and part androgynous bull. Alright, is that so, or is it just a dragon, man? It appears from their maps and legends that there also existed centaurs, flying turtles, and unicorns. Alright, we got that on plenty of maps. Alright, I don't know if I seen the flying turtles. I know we seen the unicorns and the centaurs. Alright, the half man, half horse or whatever that thing is. Alright, the last boss on Mortal Kombat. Then we can only surmise that the entire Tartarian people who were destroyed when the NWO learned how to use the Tartary technology and use it to destroy the entire culture and erase their existence from modern history books of today. If you look carefully at the photos and images in this book, you will see these massive buildings that will be, there were hundreds of millions, maybe even tens of billions of Tartarians that were eliminated. Dang, tens of billions? Alright, we talking about it. You can't be talking about nobody but the Israelites right now, man. Tens of billions, man. You'll be numbered like the sand of the sea. Tens of billions, man. Alright, they were eliminated when the healing technology was used to destroy. So they took the technology that was supposed to be healing and they flipped it to destroy. We find millions of bones buried under cities in massive insane asylums where they likely imprisoned the adult Tartars after they had separated them from their children. See? This goes hand in hand with the last video, man. I'm glad I did the last video because it led right into this. Alright? They were separated from their children. Alright? These are curses from Deuteronomy. You can't... Look, man, at this point, you gotta understand that these Tartars were Israelites, man. Alright? It's starting to become clearer and clearer, right? You can see clearly now. after they had separated them from their children to be sold for slave labor and shipped on fondling trains. They had crematories, and large graveyards on their sites. Mm-mm-mm. And did the once great Tartarians enjoy a one common language, as the Tower of Babylon suggests? Britain has over 44 dialects alone, so now do we languish in our languages created by the NWO order and Phoenicians, so that now our definitions are to deaf Phoenicians, and we babble on and on with all the varying dialects, idioms, and Roman, Latin etymologies? The New World Order we see unfolding today, like genocided the Tartars, under the spiritual mind and body control of Lucy and Satan. Some of these mind controlled NWO are called blue bloods due to their blood being of higher copper content than non-Rh negative blue line humans. Alright. I can't help but think of the Jigga Man. Alright. Alright. Jay-Z. I remember he had a song talking about he bleed blue or something like that. And then we was just talking about Tata. That's his home partner. I don't know, man. He just coming to mind right now. All right, because I thought about it earlier when they said Tata. Now here we go again with the blue blood. All right, but yeah, it just came to my mind. All right, due to their blood being of higher copper content than the non-Rh negative bloodlines humans, the Rh negative bloodline also genealogical DNA traits to pass on, whereas any contamination of positive bloodlines corrupts the purity of the bloodlines. Most are not even aware that all U.S. presidents have negative blood, and their lineage can be traced back to King Charles II of the 17th century and Vladimir the Impaler, aka the original Dracula. You see this? Dracula, man. That's who's the president, man. Dracula, man. Alright, Dracula. Dracula. Trace back to Dracula, man. If you know about the original Dracula, alright, he was a real king. Alright, this is sick, man. And people caught up in politics talking about Trump did this and all this and that. Look, man, I don't want to hear about none of that. Alright? We dealing with Dracula, man. Throughout the world, invading forces that defeated Tartaria appropriated their palaces and red power stations and turned them into universities, museums, theaters, banks, prefectures, chambers of commerce, stock exchange, churches, high school, courts, banks, post offices, libraries, opera theaters, biomedical research institutes, casinos, tourist attractions, as well as cathedrals, synagogues, and churches, and rewrote their history chronicled in the collective Wikipedia. And they continue to paint the structures that extract energy from the ether with the same colors as Tartaria and keep destroying. Tartaria was the whole world. Asia, Africa, Europe, Oceania, and the Americas were part of a single high civilization. Had the architecture focused on the extraction of magnetic critical energy. Great Tartary was then divided into civilizational categories like the Ottoman Empire, Byzantine Empire, the Ross Empire. These changes were then archived into the likes of throne room of the Grand Kremlin Palace in Moscow, the National Archives of Britain, and in the Library of Congress in Washington. This See this? The NWO parasites also interrupted the astronomical clocks of Tartaria, like this right here. Alright? Because they used the geocentric model to represent the solar system. In the Tartarian astronomical clocks, the Earth was at the center of the God's creation. These clocks were complex calculating machines. They used terms like compasses, and to operate them, sophisticated mathematical knowledge was required. The invaders invented the heliocentric model and the Copernicus character, among many others, to be able to recreate the history of humanity and erase traces of their recent crimes and destruction of the great civilization of Tartaria. To be very clear, Tartaria was the whole world with the unified language and design. How could the many pyramids found all over the world incorporate the same thought and designs if the Tartars were not at all connected somehow? Where are the design plans? We will see over and over again how fires were said to destroy many of the structures, most of the structures. Architectural drawings and blueprints are never made available. Iron forgery plants not located. Where the stones, bricks, copper, iron, etc. came from. How these massive structures and incredible engineering feats were accomplished. Would they not be sharing all their amazing know-how with us all? Yet you will find very little, if any, available literature on any of the above. The architecture to extract energy. Alright? Now you know they don't want you to have free energy, man. You know that the word that they ain't gonna do is free. Alright? Nothing is free. I'm gonna get a sip of that water. Alright. The world architecture for electromagnetic energy extraction derives entirely from the high civilization Tartar Aran. It is characterized by the use of arch openings, columns, domes, and towers. In addition to details such as rose windows and Macarnas, symbols of the vibration of electromagnetic energy, which acts on molecules and changes the behavior of cells. Formerly, these waves could act in healing, levitation, and transport, besides provoking feelings like harmony and euphoria. This energy can now be used in another way. The architecture of the Tartaria undergoes slight modifications and influences according to local characteristics of climate, culture, and material resources, but maintains the basic principles throughout the world. You will find that pyramids, theaters, and coliseums all over had water channels running under them directly where the sound energy was directed. The star forts seem to have been designed to create a microdomes that protected the inhabitants and resonate harmony. This was detailed in Tesla's three-dimensional shell and is created by interfering two Fourier expansion, three-dimensional scalar, hemispherical patterns in space. So they pair couple into a dome-like shell of intense, ordinary electromagnetic energy. The air molecules and atoms in the shells are totally ionized and thus highly excited, giving off intense glowing light. Anything physical which hits the shell receives an enormous discharge of electrical energy and is instantly vaporized. What? It goes like a bug hitting one of the electrical bug killers now so much in vogue. Dang, just vaporized. The elite survived by utilizing them during the resets. Look at some old depiction of star forts that were surrounded by walls of mud and remained mostly undamaged. Imagine a society that created free energy with the classical arts and our jobs were musical in nature. On the solfeggio scale, 528 hertz is significant. These sound frequencies we created made plants, humans, and animals grow larger and maintained a temperate climate. All cities located at strategic points on Earth along canals, rivers, seas, lakes, and oceans were star fortresses and had electromagnetic energy extracted from the ether. The energy was then captured through towers and obelisks and stored in the red and white striped power stations by the high civilization lately called Great Tartary. Alright, how much more of this article we got, man? It's a long one, ain't it? Whew. Alright, we're gonna skip down a little bit. Hold up. Cause I got something else I wanna read. Man, there was so much information that I had pulled up. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna get through all this. Uh Alright, let me see. Nikola Tesla was said to have discovered free energy, yet the Tartarians had mastered these universal energies. How did they construct and build our incredible cathedrals and buildings? Did they have gigantic machines to print exquisite ornaments to buildings and others for making canals to join oceans? When rotating inside coils, magnetic fields create electrical charges in a mercury vortex. Hindu energetic complexes exhibit dysfunction at the top of their structures, and a coil of multiple turns of wire. The magnetic field of the turns adds in the center of the coil, creating a strong field. Said Wikipedia, coils can still be seen at the top of the power supply centers in India. Religions refer to these energy factories as temples. Is that why the dragon can coil up, man? It can coil up, right? See the dome, right? This is on a lot of them. Alright, what's this? The Tower of Jewels. The Tower of Jewels. We're gonna skim down through here a little bit. Matter of fact, we don't need to talk about the free energy. I got a little video we're gonna watch about that. Alright, so the horse and buggy lies. So the story goes, before the invention of the automobile in 1885 and the airplane in 1903, before the invention of the trains and automobiles, animal power was the main form of travel. Horses, donkeys, and oxen pulling wagons, coaches, and buggies. The carriage era lasted only a little more than 300 years, from the late 17th century until the early 20th century. We are told or sold that horse and buggy were the primary vehicles to haul stones and bricks from quarries to build the incredible edifices seen in this book. And construction of towers as tall as 47 stories were erected without any found engineering design plans and had statutes, lighting, and elegant detail by common workers who, in many cases in the West, had just arrived in those cities. So yeah, man, horse and buggy people, come on, man. Alright, like, come on. Alright, I think we get everything they said was a lie, man. Alexander Graham Bell, I mean, all of it. Everything, you can erase everything they taught you in school. Alright, that was part of the erasure of your brain too. The schooling systems. Alright. Hold on, what they said about Hitler though? For this, bankers funded the rise of the Hitler myth. a character represented by several actors, among them Kermit Roosevelt, the second child of Theodore Roosevelt. So yeah, we know that Hitler. All right, there's a whole play. All right, a whole theatrical play, man. They had actors. Oh, what else can we get out of here, man? Mm. We just telling it all on this little article, ain't it? Exploring real history. Just telling it all. Yeah, there was never any weapons of mass destruction. We know that. All right. You know that the traces of smoke in the sky of chemtrails contain aluminum nanoparticles going straight to your lungs. That sustainability and transparency means pesticides and hidden destruction. All right, now this one hits home because this is all day, every day, right? It's like ever since 2020 when the shutdown happened, they just been going crazy with it, right? That the profusion of antennas modify magnetic resonance to cause diseases. That the media distribute poor quality propaganda in the shape of news. That thousands of counterfeit operations are created to justify more wars, looting, genocide, displacement, restriction of civil liberties, deliberate harm to health, sale of organs, trafficking, huge profits. Mm. I just said that. Our history taught in schools is a gigantic soap opera fraud with phantom dynasties. Huh. All right, we're going to turn up a little bit with this one. Let's see. All right. We're going to go ahead and get to the closeout, man. I think I might have to skip over a lot of this. There's a whole lot on Tartaria, man. For real. All right. What if the defeat of Great Tartaria was recorded in official history under the names of the fall of Troy, the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of Constantinople, dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, wars for American independence, collapse of the Qing dynasty, early 1900s, downfall of Russian Empire, defeat of Austro-Hungarian Empire, and World War One. So all over the world, they took them down, huh? I mean, yeah, they was messing up. They was worshiping false gods. Had to go down. Had to go down. All right. All right. This article is going. You said what now? What if JC were the Byzantine Emperor Andronicus Komnenos, born in Crimea in 1152, son of Russian Princess Irina, married to French Agnes, mother of his numerous children, and died in 1185 at 80. Hold up. I might have look into that one now. If Buddha, St. George, Apollo. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. And then if Buddha, St. George, Apollo, Pythagoras, Genghis Khan, Rurik, and Alexander the Great were replicas of his image without existence in real life. Oh, see, I ain't even read down this far in this article, man. We going deep now. I didn't know it was talking about all that. Oh, you said he's who now? Adronicus Comnenos. Oh, I'm about to look that up. Alright. Man, he's telling it all on this. Telling it all on here. Alright, I ain't got time to go through all this right now. Let's just stick to Tartaria, man. Alright, this is a whole breakdown of everything on here. Oh, what you said right here? What if the parasites who took over the world power were made up of hybrid androgynous men and women with adopted children created in laboratory and genetically modified? What? What if they systematically falsify their own deaths to play new characters? Oh my God. This goes along with the transfer of consciousness, man. Alright. So like when it's their time to go, they just transfer their consciousness into a new being. Alright, and they've been living for thousands of years. I don't know, maybe hundreds of years. I don't know, thousands, maybe hundreds. Alright, here we go. Who were the Tartarians? Let's see if they're gonna say it on here. Let me see. Yeah, we already got all this. Without the first R. This just look like the same article we already read over again. Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is a repeat. Alright, okay. I appreciate that one. That one had a whole bunch in it. My goodness. Man, let's get to some maps real quick. Let's see what we got on the maps. Alright. What we got? I still got a whole book I was gonna read. Like, I don't know if I'm reading now. Man, I still got a whole lot left. Man, alright. Hold on. This is a little quick map. Another one showing you that they always keep a little chunk of America in there with Tartaria. Alright, even though America is Grand Tartaria. And there's no disconnection going on right here. Alright. Let's keep that in mind. Alright. Okay. So you see Tartaria Magna, alright. Cathay. Now we know Cathay and this appears all that right there. But look, they don't even want to show it. What is this, man? They just got Cuba. Where is it? Zapangu. We see Zapangu right here. This is America. So where is the rest of it at, man? Where's the rest of it? They got cannibally right there because they was cannibalistic at that time. Alright? They was down bad, man. They had to turn into cannibals. Alright? So they say. You see that on a lot of the maps. Lips. I don't know, man. What they got going on around the map? Interesting. We got elephants over here. Elephant doing something to him. What's going on right here, man? And he's shooting the elephant. Yo, they got the big things in their jaw. Like, what is this? Oh, that's the beard? That look like one of them wild men. Man, there's all type of weird stuff when you look at the background, man. What is going on? Alright. There go your he got a club in his hand. What is this? This is the wild man with a goat. Alright. He carrying his horse. Man, look at this, man. They chopping up a body right here. Yeah, I didn't even know this, man. They got a leg hanging up on the tree, a head on the top. Come on, man. Yo. What in the world is going on here, man? Oh, yeah. We out of here. We off this map, man. They got somebody roasting. Now, look at this. Bro, what map is this? I don't even want to know, man. I don't even want to know. Let's go to the next one. What's this? Alright, here we go. Here you go. Alright. Grand Tartaria was over here on the Americas, okay? This is Grand Tartaria. Now, I don't know who these people they got on here. You got a dwarf. Yeah, they looking kind of creepy, man. I ain't gonna lie. I don't even know if that's human right there. What is that? His eyes blacked out? What's going on right there? But yeah, we see the hijack, alright? We see the hijack. Alright, right here they calling it the Mar de Kimashiti. Kimashiti. Okay. And Tartaria all over here. Tartaria Desert. Wait a minute, man. Yeah, they done moved all this stuff over here, man. Alright. Tartaro. Yeah, but we know Grand Tartaria over here in the Americas. Alright, and this is all connected anyway. Yeah, we already got this one. Alright, cool. What's this one? Alright. We got France again. Norumbega. Alright. So this must be where original France is. Alright, we see it say Tartarum. Alright, Tartarum, and this is a map of America. Alright, Tartarum. Ebola. I'm just exploring right now. I'm just exploring. Checking it out. See if we can catch some. What's that? Cortorelles. Okay. See, once again, they got the Sierra Nevada all the way up. Nah, well, some maps they got it all the way up here. Kivera. Anion. Okay, Let's move on. America Premium. It's a Christopher Columbus Cup. 1592. They got the date wrong. Okay. Okay. Let me see. What else we got? Alright, we got this one with all that crazy stuff going on. Okay. Yeah. Alright, here we go. Having achieved this conquest, the Tartars and their descendants had probably a much harder task to perform. This was to subdue the more ferocious and warlike European colonists who had entrenched and fortified themselves in the country. After the arrival of the Tartars, or the Indians, as they are now called in the particular parts, they had settled themselves along the region of the Atlantic. The Tartars or the Indians, huh? The Tartars or the Indians. And there we go. We see Moscow. We see France. Alright. We got Chicago or Shalaga. What else we got on here? Montvermel. Tigues. That we saw on the other map. Tigues. Alright. What else we got? The Parada. So yes, the Tartars or the Indians, man. Okay, when this map was? When they made this one? Ain't got no date on it. Okay, I got this on another site too, I think. Alright, cool. I'm saying they got. They used to fly in these and just dock them. Just dock them right there. They said they docked them on. They could dock them on a lighthouse. Alright, they could dock them on a Empire State Building. It's docked on the Empire State Building, man, New York. Just up there chilling. That's wild. Anything else we got? We want to get out of here. Huh? What's this? Oh, yeah, okay. I was looking at this. Paris. Right? Paris. Alright. Once again, we got France. Alright. Florida is this whole region. Montreal, New Mexico. It's a wild one. There it is. Axa or Axa. The same area. Alright. Tigues. That's on all of them. Tigues. Cibola. Man, what that say right there? Bella de Cato. I don't know what that one is. Okay. Granada. Granada. Alright, or the Holy Land. Kivera. Alright. They got New Mexico all the way up here. Alright, we just checking it out. Let's move on. Move along. Because I got a little timeline scroll. I played around with ChatGPT again. I got them to make us a little scroll. Alright. This is the scroll of hidden light. Alright, Tartaria, the Americas, and the Israelite remnant. Alright, 5% they say. From Eden to erasure. Now, never mind these dates. These cannot be accurate. Alright, because first of all, they're using BCE and all that. Alright, and CE. Alright. But this is from Eden. Alright, the garden was located in ancient America. A land with rich rivers, gold, and harmony. Eden. Then you had the dispersion, right? Noah's sons spread across the earth. Shem's line migrated west, so they say, or the farthest east, establishing Edenic law in the land we now call the Americas. So yeah, Shem is the Americas. Entry into Canaan. Joshua leads the Israelites into the land they did not build. All right, the Americas, temples, cities, and star-aligned structures already exist. Okay. The Assyrian Babylonian captivities. Tribes begin to scatter. Many flee by sea westward. Alright, so that's Azareth. And that's in America. Okay, that was part 2 of the series. Alright, the hidden Israelite kingdoms. The tribes of Gad, Reuben, all of them, Levi. Alright, they're called later by outsiders the Tartars or the Tartarians. These were the hidden Israelite kingdoms. Alright, the Moorish and Cushite interactions. Afro-Shemitic Moors intermingle with Tartarian Israelites. Cities, domes, and star forts expand. Alright, then you had the European invasion. This is when Columbus came through, 1492. Alright, Columbus and Rome arrived, claiming land and initiating slow conquest. America is rebranded as the New World. Alright, hold on. Let me see something. Okay, we good. We good. Alright, Star Fort Seas, World's Fairs. Alright, then you had the War on Erasures, and they say this is the 1600s to the 1800s. So we might can go with these later timelines they got. Star Fort Seas, the World Fairs destroy ancient buildings, Israelites enslaved, and then reclassified as Negro, colored, Indian. Alright, now we got the Indians were the Tartars, right? 1812 to 1865, the last resistance. Alright, we got Tecumseh's War, 1812, Civil War, Tartarian Israelite resistance, crushed. Asylums used to erase memory. 1900s, we got that full reprogramming, public schools, false maps, biblical inversion, the real Zion buried beneath asphalt library. And then in the 2020s to the present is the awakening. The remnant begins to remember, the scrolls whisper again, the names return, and Hawaii stirs. Alright. Tribal composition, Judah, kings, guardians, divine law, Levi, priests, sound keepers, scroll scribes. Alright, wilderness protectors, warriors, ammunition tamers, builders, travelers, fusion of okay. Early Cushites, Mizraimites, who feared Hawaii. repentant Nephilim lions, stone builders under divine oath. So these were repentant Nephilim lions, these giants, right? Roles in Tartaria, America. Architects, temples, Star Force, grid-aligned cities, scholars, keepers of the Mem, the living water knowledge, healers, asylum, founders, before the hijack, aligned to 432 Hertz energy. The judges carry divine law encoded in tribal memory. Alright? Now, never mind Chat GPT. You know, they can't get everything right. You know what I'm saying? But they got a couple things right on here. You know what I'm saying? We got Eden. Alright? They saying Mississippi River Delta. I'ma say it's up there, up north, close to the North Pole. Alright? But you can't get to it. Could be further up into past Canada or in Canada. Who knows? Alright, but you can't get to that. Alright, we got Canaan. Alright, now they saying southeastern, but we know Canaan was southwestern, right? Mount Zion, they got the Appalachian Mountains. I don't know about that one. Babylon, Quebec. That one could be correct. That one is correct. Arcadia, Cod, southern Canada near Vermont. Yeah, they got that one right. The land of Nod. This is the land of Cain. Maritime provinces east of Quebec. That's right. Goshen, the Mississippi River Basin. And they even put a note. They said these are based on spiritual geographical alignment, not modern archaeological confirmation. So they know they probably wrong. Alright. Alright, these are the sources. Alright, final word of the scroll keeper. They called them Tartars because they could not call them Israelites. They renamed the land to hide its holiness. But Hawaii preserved the names in the stones, the rivers, and the soul of the remnant. America is not new. It is the oldest scroll waiting to be read aloud once more. He who has ears, let him hear. I appreciate that, Chat GPT. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You do a little something here and there. He'll throw you in the mix. Let me see. Man, I still got way more stuff, but we might just go ahead and start wrapping this up. Alright. I had let me see. We might can get a little bit of this. Where we was at on this? Alright. Columbus's scientific equipment. Alright, what was... Y'all give me a second. Alright. Back. So. Alright, this is a little something about Columbus real quick. I'm gonna run through this real quick. Alright. He was also very fond of reading the Bible in the fourth book of Ezra, which was probably written by a Jew who lived outside of Palestine. According to his own assertion, the center that impelled him to plan his discoveries was not a love of science, but his interpretation of the prophecies of Isaiah. In Portugal, Columbus earnestly conceived the idea of making maritime discoveries by way of the west. He wished to find a new ocean route to the regions of Cathay and Kapango. Cathay and Kapango. Okay? Which were reputed to be rich in gold and spices. Alright? Well, get this down a little bit. And also to the realm of the priest King John, whose letter to Pope Eugene IV or to Emperor Frederick III, a Jew, is said to have first published in the middle of the 15th century. Henry the Navigator had already conceived a similar plan, and the Portuguese kings never lost sight of it. This bold conception took firm root in the mind of Columbus, mainly through a letter which the great Florentine physician and astrologer Toscanelli sent to King João through the monk Fernando Martinez. Columbus applied to Toscanelli for a copy of this letter and received it through Garradi, a Genoese who was then living in Lisbon. How much of this was I gonna get? Okay, I don't know where I was going. All right, we got enough. We wanted to get to that press the John part. All right. I think I had another. I was going further with it, but we're gonna cut this one short. All right. He was trying to get to Kampangu and Cathay, and he was trying to visit Prester John. All right. So that's Columbus. Let me see. Oh, this one don't want to come up? Okay. This is the one I really wanted to read. All right. This is from Journal of the History of Ideas. All right. And this section is by Richard W. Cogley. Some other kind of being and condition, the controversy in the mid 17th century, England over the peopling of ancient America. Alright. In 1651, 2 years after the establishment of the Puritan Commonwealth in England, the Anglican controversialist Haman E. Estrange wrote a rejoinder to a recent book by Thomas Thorogood, a Puritan minister in Norfolk. The issue dividing the two men was not the usual matter contested by the Anglicans and Puritans in the Revolutionary England, the proper organization of church and state, but rather the possibility that the Native Americans were descended from the 10 lost tribes of Israel, who had vanished from biblical history in the 8th century. Thorogood's book, which had been published in London in 1650 under the rather misleading titles of Jews in America, argued for the Indians' Israelite ancestry and estranged Americans, no Jews against it. Alright, Thorogood's Jews in America was perhaps the first sustained argument written in England for the lost tribes theory of the Native Americans' ancestry. However innovative the work was by the English standards, its thesis was not original. Published endorsements of the Israelite origins view have been circulating in Western Europe at least since 1567, the year when Gilbertus Jean Broderus' Chronographia in Duos Libros Distincta and Johannes Fredericus Luminis de Extremo de Ludicio et Idorum Vocation appeared in Paris and Antwerp respectively. Thorogood's book followed the argumentative structure worked out by these and other predecessors. The supposed presence in Aboriginal culture of remnants of ancient Mosaic observance, such as the belief in a creator god and the practice of male circumcision, indicated that the Native Americans were descended from the lost tribes. The Indians did not recognize that these aspects of their otherwise pagan way of life were Israelite in origin. So he called them pagans again. and the lost tribes were the only inhabitants of pre-Columbian America, although they were not necessarily confined to the New World. Strange's critique of the lost tribes theory was no more original than Thorogood's case for it. Strange's relied heavily on an early 17th century work by another Anglican, Edward Briarwood, a pioneering figure in the fields of linguistics and astronomy. In the course of his posthumously published inquiries touching the diversity of languages and religions, Briarwood offered a series of forcible objections to the claims that vestiges of Mosaic culture existed among the Indians, and hence to the conclusion that the natives were Israelites. Strange expanded upon Briarwood's criticisms, which were directed primarily against Gibardus, and then applied them to Thorogood. But unlike Strange, whose interests were almost entirely polemical, Briarwood integrated his critique of the lost tribes theory into a positive argument. He held that the Israelites had never been dispersed beyond the Middle East, and that the Indians were descended from the Tartars. See that? Oh dang, it get big when you hold on, we trying to do that. The Indians were descended from the Tartars, a Central Asian people whom he and many other early modern Europeans equated with the ancient Scythians. The Tartar ancestry theory also went back to the 16th century, almost certainly to Amerigo Vespucci, who had proposed the idea in print in 1507. Its fundamental premise was the same one which underlay the Israelite origin view and many other early modern perspectives about the Native Americans' ancestry, such as the theories of the Carthaginian or Canaanite origins. Each of these theories assumed that the Indians' cultural history was the American installment of a story which began in the Old World, and that the natives' way of life retained the imprint of the originating culture. For Briarwood and other advocates of the Tartar view, the foundation was the culture of the Scythians, who had epitomized unlettered barbarism in Western sources, at least since the time of Herodotus. The Tartar origins theory thus cast the Native Americans as prototypical barbarians, not as fallen Israelites. An important point investigated in due course. Alright, I'm gonna stop right there. I ain't trying to overread. But yeah, check this out, man. You wanna know some more? It keeps going. Alright, this is just another source to link the Tartars with the Indians, man. Alright. The natives were descended from the Tartars, and they had borrowed aspects of the neighboring Israelites' culture. The lost tribes, for their part, remained both ethnically distinct and mindfully observant in the New World, and also in Ethiopia, Persia, China, and Tartary, the other places where he suspected they were living. Alright, go check this out, man. You want to get some more? Alright. Yeah, this is talking about Tartars and Indians, man. Tartars, Indians, and Israelites. Let me get that sentence right there. What they say? And Jews in America, he had seen the Tartars as Gentiles, an assumption he shared with Briarwood, Strange, and Manasseh. However, in Jews in America in 1660, he viewed the Tartars as themselves descendants of the lost tribes, thus amalgamating the Israelites, the Indians, and the Tartars into the same people. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay, boom. Stop it right there. Amalgamating the Israelites, the Indians, and the Tartars into the same people. Bang. Alright. Cool. I had this link up. Okay. I don't even know why I got this link up. Alright, we already went through Ezra. Alright, I just got that up there. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. Then again, on that Tartars issue, just to show you, man, okay? Tartarus is mentioned, alright? Tartar is not mentioned in the Bible. They have Tartarus. And they have it as a place of punishment and torment. Now, this is in the New Testament, alright? 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, alright? So this is what they do with all your stuff, alright? They take it and they demonize it some way or another, alright? They take the good and turn it into bad. Just like we got in that article where they took those energy weapons and turned them into, they used them for bad, man. Alright? This is a common theme that they love to do. Demonize all your stuff. We ain't got to get much further into that. How do you board an airship? Alright. And this is from Tartaria and Britannica. Alright. As we look further into the airships of the past, it is important to consider the infrastructure that was in place to service these large-scale, affordable air industry. To understand how you board an airship, let's first have a look at the loading mechanisms that were used. So see, they connect right to the towers, man. Alright. Can we get this closer? Yeah. And imagine how many people could get up in there, man. You see how big them joints is? Alright. They connect right on that, and they call it a mooring eye. See that? A mooring eye, huh? That's what it connects to. A side mooring guys. Alright, so this is some more so-called Tartaria technology, man. Alright, I think we about close to wrapping this one up, man. I think we get it. See, look at that. Look at that. That's all crazy how I just sit on there like that. I just sit like that. Now they would put U.S. Navy on it. But they know where they got this from. Alright? They know they didn't invent this. They been flying around. You wonder how they got all the maps and stuff? I mean, they could have been flying on dragons too. But they been flying around. Alright? Right down the Empire State Building, man. That's crazy to me. It's flying around Paris. You know, that's not the real Paris. Alright, they call it mooring masts. They call these things, all this stuff is mooring. More. Alright, they know what it is. That's all I wanted to get on that one. Man, that's crazy, man. Alright, we can check out some Tartarian buildings real quick. We about to wrap this one up. I appreciate y'all rocking through. Once again, let it be known they're hiding.
They've been keeping this from us. Have you ever noticed the grand, ornate buildings that seem out of place for their time? These structures are remnants of the great Tartarian Empire, a civilization more advanced than any we know today. The Tartarians had technology that could harness free energy from the atmosphere, powering their cities effortlessly. Their architecture wasn't just beautiful, it was functional, designed to capture and use this energy. But when the elites discovered the power of controlling energy, they realized they couldn't let this knowledge spread. So they erased Tartaria from history, burned its cities, and rewrote the narrative. What if the history we know is just a shadow of the truth? The Tartarian Empire was proof that the world was once free and abundant, but that knowledge has been hidden from us. We are far more capable and powerful than the rulers want us to believe.
Man, what if that's the inside of one of them airships? Nah, that can't be. It can't be. Yeah, man. Amazing architecture. All over the world. Some of these pictures ain't real. Like that right there, like AI. That's AI. But yeah, man. This look like the one downtown from where I'm at. And the mud floods, so you can see a lot of them, they got windows that's ground level. So you know they go a lot deeper than that. Alright? The Most High wreaked havoc and shut all your stuff down. Alright, the Most High did all this to you, man. Alright? You ain't want to act right. Had all this technology and all the greatest of things and numbers and numerous people and all the greatest things you can imagine. You messed it up. Fumbled the bag. And it all started when they didn't kick everybody out. When they was conquering the lands. So they messed up from the jump. Yeah. They messed up from the jump. I had a little quick video I wanted to watch. Where is that? Yeah, we'll check out this little quick video. We're going to read the script. And that's it. I'm going to call it a day.
They've been keeping this from us. Have you ever noticed the grand ornate buildings that seem out of place for their time? These structures are remnants of the great Tartarian Empire, a civilization more advanced than any we know today. The Tartarians had technology that could harness free energy from the atmosphere, powering their cities effortlessly. Their architecture wasn't just beautiful, it was functional, designed to capture and use this energy. But when the elites discovered the power of controlling energy, they realized they couldn't let this knowledge spread. So they erased Tartaria from history, burned its cities, and rewrote the narrative. What if the history we know is just a shadow of the truth? The Tartarian Empire was proof that the world was once free and abundant, but that knowledge has been hidden from us. We are far more capable and powerful than the rulers want us to believe.
Told y'all I was quick. Alright. Let me see if I can get up out of here.
Limu, I drive. You help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
All praise to Hawaii. We got through another hidden holy lands in America. Dawada to you. Especially if you right here, right now, at this point of the video. We're going to wrap things up in that Torah from none other than Moshe. Remember, this is what he told them before they messed it up. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 1. All the commandments which I command you this day shall ye guard to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which Yahweh swore 7 oaths unto your fathers. And you shall remember all the way which Yahweh led you these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you and to prove you and to know what was in your heart, whether you would guard his commandments or no. And he humbled you and suffered you to hunger and fed you with manna, which you knew not, neither did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, man lives. Your raiment waxed not old upon you, neither did your foot swell these 40 years. You shall also consider in your heart that as a man chastens his son, so Yahweh chastens you. Therefore you shall guard the commandments of Yahweh, to walk in his ways, to fear him. For Yahweh brings you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of the valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olive, and honey, a land wherein you shall eat bread without scarceness. You shall not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you may dig brass. When you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless Yahweh for the good land which he has given you. Beware that you forget not Yahweh, and not guarding his commandments, and his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you this day. Lest when you have eaten and are full, and have built goodly houses, and dwelt therein, and when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, then your heart be lifted up, and you forget Yahweh, which brought you forth out of the land of Mizraim, from the house of bondage, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents, dragons, and scorpions, and drought, where there was no water, who brought you forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers knew not, that he might humble you, and that he might prove you, to do you good at your later end. And you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. But you shall remember Yahweh, for it is he who gives you the power, who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore 7 oaths unto your fathers, as it is this day. And it shall be, if you do at all forget Yahweh, and walk after other Elohim, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day, that ye shall surely perish. As the nations which Yahweh destroys before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye will not be obedient unto the voice of Yahweh. All praise Yahweh. Thank you, Yahweh, for another one. And Dawa to you. We'll catch y'all on the next one. All right? Shalom.